Welcome to the Mother-Daughter-ish podcast. It's your mama's favorite podcast.
And the podcast your daughter always wanted.
This is Miss Dawn.
And Angelique.
From the 713. Houston, y'all. Get connected and stay connected weekly as new shows debut on Sunday, Wednesday, and please check out our Saturday Out and About showcases.
Enjoy the show. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, and tell every woman on the planet that you know about our show.
Here's our show for today. Hey, mothers and daughters. So, remember for the month of July, we said that we would be talking about business and we would be standing on business. So today, I want to discuss business structures with you and to really let you know before I even get started, to just let you know this is just informational and you can really set your business up however it works for you. When I say business structure, I mean, what do you look like behind the scenes? A lot of people will ask me questions about funding as far as like contracts and things like that, and they know I've been contracting services out for over 30 years now, and so they'll ask me like, can you help me do it? And I'm just like, of course I can help you do it. But then when I start asking questions about like their business structure and things like that, literally there's no structure. So as I'm talking about structure, the funny thing is that I am in my office today and I'm downsizing my storages. So I have a storage on site and I'm going to be downsizing it last, but I went to my storage off-site, and some things that I should have thrown away 3 years, 18, 19, 20, some things I should have thrown away 4 years ago, I decided, okay, it's time to get rid of that storage, and I can now get rid of all of those government documents from storage things. So if you hear some noise in the background, it's just the fact that I'm looking at papers and different things, and this is why I decided to talk about structure today, because I'm sitting here looking at 30 containers of paperwork. I only brought two of them from the storage because yesterday I spent about 2 hours cleaning out one that had been just sitting in the house waiting to be cleaned out because I thought it was going to the storage, but lo and behold, I got to cleaning it out and realized, guess what? Half of the stuff in there, maybe 75% of the things in there I could throw away because it was things that no longer serve me. And we're going to talk about this whole thing about things no longer serving you as it just pertains to life, period. But as far as business structure, let me tell you what I choose, and then I'll give you some ideas. I choose to have any structure I don't have to babysit. And that is how I am in life and outside of life, meaning when I'm dealing with other people's things, like, people that want me to do things for them. I like anything that doesn't have to be babysat. Even in a relationship with friends, I don't want to have to babysit you to make you do things right. Even in a personal relationship, I don't want to babysit you to make sure that you know that what we have is what we have and nobody else is invited in. I don't want a business that I have to babysit. And let me tell you what I mean by that as it pertains professionally. When you get a particular registration in business, there are times where you have to babysit it at least annually, sometimes twice a year. There's some babysitting that we cannot avoid, for example, like filing your taxes and telling everybody how much money you made, or like I like to say, earned. But for example, I just had a client that asked me on Friday, she goes, and even before she asked me that, I had one ask me 2 months ago, what do you think we should do? I said, well, you haven't kept up your honor with your LLC, with your state, and there's going to be some heavy filing penalties because you did not keep it up straight. Well, a year passed, she still hadn't kept it up straight, so now they're 2 years in the rear. And when I say rear, I'm talking rears, as in money behind. That's one of those words they use in court, in the rears. And so when we start talking about structures, if you get an LLC, a C Corp, a S Corp, a LLP, any of those particular structures that you have to file with your Secretary of State, you will have to babysit it. Sometimes you may have to file a franchise tax. Sometimes you may have to file that BOI, Business Operation Information Form. You may have to do a lot of other things. You may have to go to your comptroller and file some documents there. There may be 3 or 4 things that you have to babysit it. And I just call it babysitting because you have to watch it carefully. You have to make sure you have everything on a calendar. Here I am sitting here with my 2026 calendar. And I have so many things on there, like when I need to renew my website domain, when I need to do that, when this expires, when I need to update my certifications for the business. It's just a lot going on. And the certifications, when you get them from like your city or your state or SBA or whoever you have yours through, you know that they're only for a period of time and then you have to renew them because they want to watch and make sure that you haven't made like $50 million still calling yourself a small business enterprise. So at that point, you may be small business because you have under 500 employees, but by no means are you small like the person who has been in business for 3 years and never made over $36,000 a year. That's just an example. But so talking to this client a couple months ago, not even to mention the one just last week, and I said, you sound like the type of person, just from me knowing your personality and what you like to do in business and how you like to do things, you probably need to get a DBA. And she goes like, well, what's that? And I said, a DBA is called doing business as. It's a trade name, or some courthouses will literally say it's a fictitious name. And all that means is that you're Sally Sue doing business as Sally Sue Enterprises, but you just want permission to be able to go ahead and get you some business cards, start promoting your business, and start doing whatever you're doing like a sole proprietor. Meaning, let's just say there's a housewife, and I'm just going to use a housewife because, they're powerful and with all the things they have to do. I was one before, so I know. But let's just say you're a housewife, but you also sell tea cakes. So in order to do it legally, because maybe now you're selling tea cakes to the 4 schools around you because they have PTA, you may be selling now tea cakes to the PTA groups. And so that brings you in maybe like, $5,000 a month or something. You want to be able to, when you file your taxes, to just say, hey, I wasn't just doing business as Sally Sue, but I was doing it as Sally Sue Enterprise or Sally Sue Best Tea Cakes on Earth or something like that. So now I want tea cakes. But anyway, I digress. So it's just a way to make yourself legal to be able to do business. Now, also when it comes to your formation, don't forget the 2-step part of it. Once you file your business name and you have the name that you're desiring, that you want to hold close to you, and I'm going to tell you the difference in the two in a minute. But once you have that name and you've chosen it, so we're going to go back to the Sally Sue Tea Cake Company. And once she has that name, now she can get business cards and flyers and make any kind of promotional things she can get on social media or whatever. When she files that in her area, that means that name is good for that area. Now, I could also go to another area and I can say I'm Sally Sue's Tea Cakes as well, but that's a whole nother thing. My point is 2-step it. Get your name. If you're going to get a DBA, if you're going to go to the Secretary of State and get an LLC, the 2-step part of this is you've done that, but now you need to get an EIN. EIN is an employee identification number, meaning that you have an employee, whether it's yourself or you're going to hire other people to help you. Because what if Sally Sue's Tea Cakes gets an order from the entire school district, and now Sally Sue has to completely use her entire kitchen to get 20,000 tea cakes out? She's selling them in bulk now. She's probably going to make, $100,000 off of the tea cakes. I don't even know if that's a real number, simply because I don't know how much Sally Sue is selling her tea cakes for, or if they come with something extra. I'm just making up numbers. This is for educational purposes only. So don't go and get the calculator and go like, well, she's selling tea cakes for $15. No, that's not the point here. The point is that now Sally Sue should have gotten that EIN, because when she goes to file her taxes, she's going to need to declare that she was doing this under her business name, which is her doing business as Sally Sue, now Sally Sue Tea Cake. So the other thing that I just want to give you 2 insights. Getting an LLC, I can remember back in the 90s, everybody said, oh, you need to get an LLC because you need to protect your private property and all these things. Listen, whenever you have a business, whether it's a DBA or it's an LLC or C Corp or S Corp or whoever corporate is, have business insurance. What if Sally Sue goes and cooks up these 20,000 tea cakes? She accidentally leaves them out, at night or during delivery process. She's got 4 other people working for her and something happens. It gets very, very hot in Texas. So let's just say they spoil because they are made with milk and eggs and all that. And let's just say they spoil, and under the bottom part where no one could see it, it just gets mold. And so when the people get the tea cakes, they're so excited that they eat the tea cakes without looking under the bottom to see that there was mold. And let's just say out of all the people, one person gets ill. you know they're coming back to Sally Sue to say, hey, you food poisoned me, I'm taking you to court. Well, if Sally Sue has insurance, then she can breathe a sigh of relief. So you don't have to worry about wondering, oh my gosh, what kind of insurance do I need? Once you go to your insurer and you say, hey, my business structure is this, we offer these services, here's how many people I have helping me, yes, I work from home, all the other details, they will then decide what type of insurance policy to put your company under. So if you actually do work from home and you never go to anybody else's site, then you could be structured totally different than someone who's always on somebody else's site. For example, I had a client who she did after school meals, but she prepared the meals at her church. So the church had to have a registration for food permits and all this other things, and had to be evaluated and monitored just to make sure that the equipment was clean, everything was up to par. And so that also now implements the church into the cooking meal service for after school. But this individual did not have a facility, did not want to cook these things from home, did not want to go out and rent out an apartment to make that the catering studio. They just borrowed the church because the church is not open Monday through Friday to serve meals to people. So, usually they do that on the weekends or whatever. And her school, after schools were only Monday through Friday, sometimes through Thursday. So it was a very convenient, I should say, partnership. My point is this: when you structure your business, structure the business where it fits you, structure the business where it serves you, structure the business where it's going to be comfortable for you to maintain and manage, so that you can do what it is that you love while the business is maintaining itself. When I became a speaker way back in the 90s, and I was actually on stages getting paid for it, and I still do today, but I'm just saying from the beginning phases of it, the natural thing back then was to get the butts in the seats, to set the scheduling and all of that. And not one time did I ever think, well, what if somebody falls at the seminar? I never thought of anything like that. But then we're talking about back in the 90s, where that type of thing I don't think was at top of mind for most people. Nowadays, you have to keep everything that's pertaining to your business at top of mind, simply because people are always looking for a way to get a lick. They're always looking for a way to make sure that they can come up some kind of way. But you protecting your business is also going to lead you into some magical things that you don't even know about right now. For example, when I'm talking, we're going to talk about this in such depth this month, but let's just say you want to go after a contract and you want to go bigger, and you say, well, I'm offering the cookies, the tea cakes to the schools that my kids attend, and some of the other kids that are their friends attend other schools, and the PTA knows about me there. But now I'm going to go and get a contract with the whole entire district so that I can be on their certified approval vendor list. Then that way, the next time they need 20,000 tea cakes, I'm their girl, right? Well, without insurance, they will never hire Sally Sue. As a matter of fact, Sally Sue won't get past the registration process. We're going to talk about this contracting thing in such a depth this month that I told you that we're setting up our Rumble so that I can really, really, really teach about contracting over there. And for those who really want to go forward with it and they come on board, and let me help them to actually, apply for their first contract so that they can get the hang of all these things. I'm excited about that because just about a week and a half ago, or not this Friday, but not this Saturday, just passed by last Saturday, I did a class for some wonderful ladies, and it was on Zoom, and just really talking to them about preparing themselves for contracting, because it's like a business. You can't just jump into it and say, okay, I'm good. No, you have to actually contemplate what you're good on. You have to contemplate, what do I need? You have to contemplate who needs to help me or who should help me. You have to contemplate who my clients are, who my audience is. You have to contemplate all of these things. You have to contemplate that if you're writing a book. You have to contemplate that if you're going to speak on a stage. You have to contemplate that if you are a caterer. You have to contemplate that if you're in IT. I don't think there's any level of business where you do not have to contemplate that. So let's get things together, and this is the perfect time to do it. We're here halfway through the year of 2025, and we should be really thinking about our 2026. Here's how I know. I'm sitting here in July of 2025, and I already have my 2026 calendar. And if you saw it right now, you would promise yourself, we must be in December for her to know all these things that she's doing for 2027. I have a lot of appointments on 2026. I'm sorry if I said 2027. I have a lot of travel for 2026. I have a lot of reminders for 2026. I have a lot of updates to do for 2026. I have a lot of follow-ups to do for 2026, all on my calendar. So you may sit here in July and say, it's just way too early to be thinking about this. But listen, I was in Hobby Lobby and they have the Christmas trees up. So let me tell you something. If you're thinking that right now is not the time for you to be thinking of the end of the year, you are so mistaken, because this is usually the time when I'm thinking about the next year, because I'm evaluating myself as to what all did I accomplish for 2025. And let me just give you just a little bit of a snippet. For 2025, I said that I wanted to go more global than I've ever been before when it comes to the speaking engagements and leadership development and things like that. So I have now applied with 10 global entities to be able to do the same services there that I do here in the United States. I have already put together my children's book, because I said I wrote 30 books and didn't have a children's book. Why? I've already started thinking about what book that I already write that was like a favorite that I can now turn into 2 to 3 other languages. I have done so many things. I don't even want to bore you with the list because it's not important to you, but those are things that were important to me. So I have a list even in my new 2026 calendar in the back of the things that I want to accomplish by mid-year of 2026. And if you saw that list, you'd be like, yeah, she's crazy. I mean, but I get excited about it because when I put it against my list of 2023 that I accomplished and my list for 2024 that I accomplished, and then I have a separate list, the clients that I'm able to help and to help them to do whatever it is that they are wanting to do. I get to
Well,
write that down as accomplishments and things like that. So it's really, really, really exciting to know how to format these things so that they work for your good. But what's even more important is to know how to format and formulate your business so that it works for you. Some people want to be able to have the pride of seeing that LLC behind their name. See, I kind of changed the game with our business. I got the DBA, then got the company certified through 4 entities, then got all the other accolades and everything and just moved it over because it's the same group of people under a different name. So I did that because I set it up so that my daughters can have their business, but I showed them everything that I did and then translated it over so that they could do it. I'm kind of removing myself from it all and just training them and showing them. And so I'm volunteering and mentoring them to be able to do these things because I already put my 30 years in. I love saying that. By the time I was 25, I thought I had done everything that I needed to do because my list was so vast and I had it done. I made some promises to myself that I kept. By the time I was 30, it was like coasting. By the time I was 40, it was like, okay, start thinking about your retirement plan. By the time I was 50, I was like, oh my gosh. And now at the age that I'm at, I'm showing my girls what to do and I'm sitting back watching them and just I'm giving them the knowledge and giving them the game and giving them everything that they need to do so that I can just continue to take care of myself and help the other people that I'm able to help to do things and volunteer and things like that. So, when you're in a different mode in life, it's good to be able to sit back and go through things. Just like, for example, today I'm going through this one particular container. And in that container, I found a bunch of bank statements from like 2013 to like 2016 that I need to shred because they're so old. And I was just looking at the amount of money that we've been able to manage and the people that we've been able to pay out and, help them to maintain what they're doing. And then able to look at all of the future plans for different things that I had and looking at conversations by email that, I deemed to be important because they were printed out through just conversations with customers and contracts that I've had in the past. And you're just thinking about all of what we're doing right now and what's coming up in the future and just the people that are coming along with that and building teams of collaboration. And I had to stop and say to myself today, I said, everything that you've done to bring people along. And I said, people haven't brought you along, but that's okay. I decided today that it's okay that I'll bring everybody along and help everybody get funding and help everybody to do. And I'll volunteer and I'll mentor and I'll do all of that. And then they get successful. And I'm telling you, their whole thing changes. It's like they catch on to it and they're like, okay, I can go on about my business. I don't have to mention that this person is the person who helped me. And you know what? I decided today that I was okay with that. I decided that that's fine because I was able to help someone. I know what I did. I have proof. I have, written statements and, things like that. So I'm just happy that I would have been a ripple in those pond of things, and helping people to structure themselves properly has just been so important because when you start a business, you get a big eye and you go like, I'm going for the gusto. I have people say, I'm doing a C Corp. And I'm like, oh, okay, are you planning on being on the stock market? And they're like, what you talking about? And so that's always funny. I always get to know them a little bit better. I find out what their end goal is. I find out what it looks like to them in the end as a business person, and what type of services that they offer, what type of program they have, if they have any kind of product and things like that. And then I can sit back and say, here's what I feel like you should do, and here's why I feel like this. And there has never been a time where I've said, here's what I feel like you should do, and here are my reasons. There's never been a time that I've had somebody say, yeah, that's just not me. They're like, you know what, you're right. Because all I do is repeat their words back to them. So if you tell me this, and this, and I repeat it back to you, you can't say that that's not exactly who you are, because those are the words that you repeated to me. So I know that's who you are. So that's my lesson for today on your business formation. Think about what works for you. Does it work for you to go to the courthouse and get a DBA, get your EIN, and go ahead and get your business started, and you don't have to babysit it but every 10 years? Or does it work better for you to register with your Secretary of State wherever you're from, and then you have to do several things every year to maintain that particular status? And money is involved and all of that, time is involved and all that. I would tell you, if you're not a great organizer and you don't put things on schedules, that is definitely not for you. I put things on schedule and it's not for me. And I am very strict with how I schedule things. So again, I don't want to babysit things, and I hope that you do whatever works for you. Again, this is for educational purposes. So all that means is that you do what works for you. That's our show for today on a business formation. Not sure what the next topic is going to be, but I do know one thing. I know it's going to be a good one. Bye for now.
Let's talk about it. I gotta admit, proud of who you become, and everything that you've done. Mother and daughter are always greater when they're together. Everything's better.
TikTok like that.
It's not on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok. That's on IG.
Anything you see on IG is on TikTok.